From a distance, they might look intriguing, even exciting, but imagine having one or two, or in some cases 13 of these wind turbines literally in your backyard. While even with all the promise of new alternative energy, many of the people forced to live near these wind turbines now feel a strong rage against the machine. It's a brisk autumn day here in DeKalb County. For the Holtein family, this once meant looking out their windows at the freshly plowed cornfields. But this is what they see now. Wind turbines, 13 of them within a mile of their home. From the base to the tip of the highest blade, each stands about 400 feet tall, dominating the Holtein's once rustic view.
The differences are night and day compared to what it is now, compared to what it was a year ago at this time.
The Holteins built their dream home here 9 years ago, mainly because of the peaceful, rural atmosphere. But now they say it is anything but.
One of those type of things where you don't expect to think, oh, I live in a peaceful rural area, and then now I never moved, but now I'm surrounded by industrial machines.
146 turbines stretching across both DeKalb and Lee counties make up this, as they put it, industrial farm. These 1.5 megawatt wind-generated turbines have been in commercial operation since last December, which is exactly when the environment Dave and Stephanie grew up in and hoped to raise their 4 young children in became what they say is now nothing but distant memories. Now, they wake up to the mechanized hum of the turbines as they generate enough energy to power 54,000 homes.
You know, we can actually feel it in our bodies. Sometimes I will, I don't even have to look out the window, and I know they're on because I could just feel that difference of noise. And then they'll ramp up, they'll ramp back down, they'll go back up again, they'll go back down.
Here is sound captured by the Holteins from their front yard. And Dave and Stephanie say the sound isn't even the least of their problems. To share exactly what their experience has been like living in such close proximity to wind turbines, Stephanie began documenting their daily lives through written entries and videos on their online blog called Our Life with DeKalb Turbines that they started last April.
We thought it was important to educate people of what it is like on a daily basis to live with turbines. Some days we have good days, and some days aren't great at all because of the sound and the shadow flicker that we get.
Here you see just one of many videos shot by Dave posted on their blog. This particular clip documents a phenomenon called shadow flicker, which happens when the rising or falling sun casts a shadow off the rotating blades. Their blog has already been viewed over 5,000 times, and they continue getting feedback from people living all over the world.
People email us from all over, from even different countries, saying, wow, what you wrote last night, I could have written a couple days ago.
Although the Holteins say they may have the worst of the sound and shadow flicker because of the amount of turbines in such close proximity to their home, their situation is not an isolated case. Meet the Murphys. We traveled just a few miles down the road to the Murphy residence to talk to them about their experience, which sounded all too similar to what the Holteins had already told us.
It doesn't go away, and you're just there, and something that was quiet and peaceful, and why we came out to the country to raise our kids out here is now this loud industrial power plant. I feel like I'm living in the middle of an industrial power plant now.
Even though they only have 4 turbines within a mile of their home, Mary says the noise alone has completely taken away from what she says was the perfect location for the home she and her husband saved up for 16 years to build.
It completely changes the enjoyment of our property by having this sound constantly there. And when you're moving through at various points in the yard, the sound changes. But it's loud. It goes from the sound of sometimes sounds like a freight train, sometimes sounds like jet engines.
Now, both the Murphys and Holteins face their ultimate dilemma. Whether or not to move away from the homes they envision spending the rest of their lives in, that is, until they say the turbines appeared. While the Holteens and Murphy say, to them at least, these wind farms practically appeared in their backyards overnight. And while that's not entirely true, the wind farm's entire process actually did happen relatively quick. Too quick for most people. And tomorrow, we'll tell you more about that. 4 months. That is how long the county board took to approve this, as some call it, industrial farm. The people who approved it say it was talked through thoroughly, but many of the families living in the shadow of these industrial generators say it was a rush job that's left them in a rage against the machine. Some say they appeared overnight. 126 wind turbines now stand as the centerpiece of DeKalb County, which was once known simply for its agricultural land. Now, the county contributes enough wind energy to power 54,000 homes. The company behind this wind farm is Florida-based NextEra Energy, and before they approached the DeKalb County Board, they had no prior plans for a wind farm. Regardless, county officials say they knew it was an opportunity they could not pass up.
I thought we needed to try and do our part. That's why I, was in favor of having the wind energy plant here.
Dave and Stephanie Holteen, who have 13 turbines within a mile of their home, say they were open to the idea at first. They even took trips out to other local wind farms to get a feel for them before the hearings began.
The size of them really, caught our eye, like, wow, I mean, this is going to be a big change, but maybe we can deal with this.
Their neighbor, Mary Murphy, thought the same thing at first as well, keeping the potential benefits in mind.
I thought, I'm for alternative energy, I thought at that time, and felt that, might have to make those sacrifices in my visual landscape for the good of, our environment.
But both Murphy and the Holteen say they were not given enough time to inform themselves about a project that was literally going to be built in their backyards.
We found out, really almost literally before just prior to the first public hearing, and doesn't seem fair that was known that far in advance and we didn't have a chance to, speak out against it or learn more about it.
The entire process, from the first actual public hearing until the county board unanimously recommended approving the project, took a mere 4 months. Yet, it's not the approval of the project itself causing the controversy, it's that many feel not enough was done to limit NextEra from completely taking over their landscape with wind turbines.
The conditions were what the county board thought were adequate.
You can do wind energy. If people really want to do it, they have to do it responsibly. And then the way that most of these, number one, the turbines are sited and how they do the projects, it's very irresponsible.
These regulations include things such as the distance the turbines can be from homes, the number of them, and even property value guarantees. However, families like the Holteens say the county board did not do them justice.
They always say that it's just something that you're going to get used to. We've been now with them for 10 months, and so far we haven't got used to, and I don't think we ever will.
Now, the county defends the process it used to approve this project. They say it wasn't rushed through because they went through a thorough review of this back in 2003 when NextEra originally proposed the project, but later walked away from it. Tomorrow, it's not just how fast the process went, it's how well the county protected the families who have to live with these turbines. It's been nearly a year since a Florida energy company transformed the skylines of DeKalb and parts of Lee counties with a vast array of wind turbines. The county board placed limits on how many and how close, but the families say that protection came up far short, and now some of the county board members are having second thoughts about whether they did enough.
I think it's important to have green technology.
It's just one of those type of things where you don't expect to think, oh, I live in a peaceful rural area, And then now, I never moved, but now I'm surrounded by industrial machines.
But an industrial farm is exactly what the DeKalb County Board said it was going to prevent.
That's what we did as a board, is try to make it, protect them as much as we could.
NextEra Energy, the company behind the wind farm, agreed to dozens of regulations before the county granted them a special use permit. They are required to provide things such as property value guarantees to those living near the wind turbines.
Sure that if the property owner can demonstrate that they ended up having to accept a value lower than they should have, then the company would pay up the difference.
People like Dave and Stephanie Holteen say this does not make up for the rest of the regulations they say are inadequate, especially the one that sets the minimum distance a turbine can be from homes at 1/4 mile.
They do something like this and put these turbines so close to homes. It really changes our way of life and really what rural actually means anymore.
They say of the 13 turbines within 1 mile of their home, it's the 2 sitting right at the minimum distance that cause the most disruptions.
And those 2 right there are of course, number one, the noisiest. They'll be the most intense for shadow flicker. And as you get closer to the home, the consequences of what they do or the action, that type of stuff, it gets much greater.
DeKalb County Board Chairperson Ruth Ann Tobias says she does not regret her decision to vote in favor of the wind farm.
That was it's a very hard decision to make. I mean, you know, it's a tough thing to go through, and you have to sit there and think. You take a lot of abuse, and you think, well, what am I doing? You know, why am I doing this?
But she did say there are things she wishes she could change.
If I had to do it again, I might ask the company to say, can't you space them not so close to the homes?
Even Anderson admits there are things he would change as well.
We need to find a better way to notify the public.
Off camera, Anderson admitted that the process was too rushed and the county should have taken more time to do their research. For now, the Holteens say they have no choice but to take legal action against NextEra and the county board.
And so basically we're completely not representative, so not represented by anybody, so we are left with the only thing is to take legal action and to explore litigation.
Over 30 families, including the Holteens, formed a group called Citizens for Open Government. Their spokesperson Mel Hass says,
The goal with the lawsuit is to prove that the county board ignored the existing zoning ordinance in issuing their special use permit and thus have that special use permit reversed.
However, Tobias says it is hard not to defend the nearly $400 million project because it means big money for the county.
The townships and the county gets a small tax benefit, and in this year that's really helping us.
She says it also adds to the county's industrial base.
And when that gets high enough, you know, then perhaps our residential property taxes will not have to be as high because there's industry to take some of the burden away from the taxpayers. Despite all of these benefits, Tobias recognizes the impact her decision has had on families like the Holteens. It's a very emotional issue, and because they feel that their lifestyle has been destroyed and they're very unhappy about it. And I can understand that, and I empathize with it. And as one of the board members said on the day of the vote, I mean, it's for the greater good. And that is exactly why Hass says they aren't looking for money with the lawsuit, but for the turbines to be taken down.
We know that's asking a lot, but that is the ultimate goal.
For Dave Holteen, that is the only way, he says, for his life to go back to normal.
No matter what, you can't escape from them. I might be sitting in one room, I'm like, oh wow, I can't see them. And then I just glance over one area and I'm like, oh, it's reflecting off of something. And so no matter what, when you live within wind turbines, you can't escape them.
This citizens group says they haven't been able to get NextEra to talk with them, and we haven't done any better. We called NextEra repeatedly to ask them about all of these issues, and we got no response, not even a call back.